Hello YouTube, this is Daryl Dawes, your blind musician friend, and today we are going to continue our journey through the wave area of normal edit because there's some more stuff to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I've already turned on my keyboard, and just if you're new to the video, these series are teaching you how to use the MOXF6 Yamaha keyboard for blind users as well as sighted users. But I am blind myself, so I am going to be showing you how I navigate this magnificent board. So I'm already in the voice mode, and we have our guitar up here. But we're going to initialize the voice. So if you did see the last video, to initialize, you press job and you press enter 2 times, and then you'll have your voice initialized. Now for the blind user, if you didn't see any of my videos and you're new to this video, this being your first video to watch, you want to see at least the first MOX video I have, how to get around on the MOXF6 for blind users, because in that video I talk about the buttons and where they're located, and it would actually make it a lot easier. But I will point out the buttons we're going to be using in this video. Okay, so job is on the right side of your screen. And it is, you'll find 3 buttons that are above the 3 black keys. If you look on the right side, you'll see 3 black keys, and you look right above those 3 black keys. And what you're saying, which pair of the 3? Well, the first pair after you pass the screen. Okay, the first pair of 3 black keys. If you look at F sharp and you follow it up, there's your 3 buttons that I'm talking about. You have the first button is edit, then the middle button is job, and the last button is store. Okay, so you're going to press job, you're going to hit enter, which is 2 buttons to the left of job. Okay, and then continuing to the left of job also is exit and your shift button. So past enter is exit and shift. The button above that space between enter and exit is your down cursor. Then above that is your up cursor. Then you have left cursor to the left of these 2 sets of buttons, the up and down. Then you have right to the right of those 2 sets. Okay. Then under the data wheel, to the left of the data wheel, just below the data wheel on the left, is your minus, and to the right, just below the data wheel is your plus button. All right, so those are buttons there. Then you have your buttons to the very right. You have your set of 8 on the top, and then you have a single button, then a set of 8, then coming down towards the keys more, then you have another that last set of 8. So we'll call that top row, middle row, and bottom row. The button that sits by itself in between the top and middle row is the common button. Okay, we'll talk about that later in another video. All right, so let's move on into this video. All right, so after you initialize, so job, enter twice to initialize. I've already done it. You get a piano sound, as you probably remember from the last video. All right, so now we're going to hit edit, and then you're going to go to the middle set of the 8, the row of 8, and hit the first button, which will be element 1. Okay, now in the last video, I went straight up using the click method. I went up. And what I'm talking about for you, Those of you that are new, the click method is what I use to get around on my keyboard. I just call it the click method because, as you can hear, click, click, click. So I just call it the click method. So when we go up with the cursor and then to the left, you're on the spot where you can deactivate the element or activate the element that you have chosen. So these buttons here, the buttons in the middle, the middle set, are the way to pick your elements. Okay, 1 through 8. You can have up to 8 elements for each sound that you create. The bottom set of buttons, what they do is they turn off your elements while you're editing other elements. So for a very complex synthesis, as an example, okay? And I'm going over this again because I just want to make sure that I made clear how everything works. Now, underneath the spot where you pick your element in the screen, you can take the cursor down one spot. This is the area where you start playing around with expansion articulation. Now, that is when you're, for example, the sounds of the strings on the guitar. When the guitar player slides his hand on the strings, you get the whoosh sound. And you can add these different articulations to your sound that you're creating. And that's what these two areas underneath the element switch are. They are mainly for the articulation, are the expanded articulation. So the first spot you come to just under the element switch, this area you can't change unless you change the settings below that. So the settings below that, you have normal, legato. I'm just trying to go off memory here, and I think then it's I forgot what they called this one, but this is where you would let go of the key and it makes a sound, okay, as it just did. And then you have your wave cycle. This is useful for if you have more than one element that is using, you want the sound to switch back and forth every time you hit the key between those two sounds. You can use wave cycle. Maybe we'll get into that in another video. I'll demonstrate all of these functions. Then there's the random wave, and then I think there's function off. That's for like the function off is like, so these function buttons way on the end here over by the two sliders on the left side of the screen. These two buttons here, the function A and function B buttons, if they're off, then this, as an example, this piano sound will happen. You'll hear this piano sound. If they're on, there you go. You don't hear anything. So that's what that area is for. Now the next one is function A. So now you don't hear anything. I press function A. Now I hear the piano. So that's what that's for. This is like for more advanced. I was thinking of not talking about this in this video, but I figured it's part of the same screen, so why not, right? We already talked about the waves and the banks and the user pre area, but I'll point them out again just in case you're new and you haven't watched the other video. Now, the next part you can select is going to be function B, and that is the second button, okay, past the slider on the left side of the screen. If you reach over here to where your volume is, and then you'll see another slider. This is actually for your the output, the volume for the output of the what do they call those jacks? I can't remember right now. But they're the jacks on the far left of your keyboard in the back. They're the input jacks. Or actually, they're yeah, I'll call them input jacks because you can plug a bass guitar in, you can plug a microphone in, a guitar, a CD player, and have it come through those jacks. Okay, so anyways, back to the video. Past this volume knob for those inputs, there are the two function buttons. So the first one that you come to is A, and the second one is B. So we're on in the element or in the wave area of normal edit. We are currently sitting on the articulation for function B. So when you push function B is the only time you'll hear your piano sound. If that's the wave that you have. This is the default wave for the keyboard after you initialize. So that's what we're on right now. Okay, so beyond that is nothing. So that's the last one that you can pick in this list. Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way back to normal. Okay, back to normal we are. So the function buttons, they do their normal. They're not really doing anything anymore. Okay, it's just the piano plays. Like I mentioned in the last video, the mode wheel does not work unless you assign it in the controller set area in Common Edit, okay? We'll get into Common Edit, but I just figured I'd go through the normal edit stuff as thoroughly as possible. Well, at least the basics, so that way you can have fun creating new sounds. So let's move on. All right, so what I want to mention is, okay, so if you go all the way back up and then click to the right one with your cursor, now you're on the pre area and you press the plus button, it'll take you to the user area for when you have your expansion, the flash ROM installed. And I believe there's two kinds. There's two different flash ROMs. One has more memory, I guess. That's what I'm guessing. I don't have one yet. I want to get one. It's gonna be fun to play around with what I can put in there, the waves and my own little sounds I find on the internet or wherever. Okay, so back to the user pre area. So now in the pre area, these are the waves. If you go down one, these are the waves that came with the keyboard. Okay, these are the actual waves that build the sounds that you hear when you play around with your performance area or your voice area or your arpeggios or whatever sounds you play with when you play with your keyboard. This is where they build them from. So the first category is, of course, piano. You can't use category search here. I tried it, it doesn't work. They want you to, there's just too many sounds. So this is the piano set. So there's a set of different pianos, and there's a lot of them, okay? Then there's the electric piano set. Then there's the bell set, the organ set, and there's a lot of organs to pick from to build new organs, even just organ sounds. I mean, like, I guess, let me see if I can demonstrate what I mean by the organ sounds. Let's see. Of course, the accordions are here. All the melodicas, I think, are here too, and things of that nature. But let's see what I can. Let me see. Okay, so here's our pipe organ. So there's several settings for the pipe organ. Okay, and here's what I'm talking about. Here's some of the expanded articulation sounds that you'd find in organs. So here's a click. Here's another sound. Here's another sound. I don't know why they put that there. It sounds almost like a sine wave, but I guess they did it for a reason. Some more expanded articulation type noises. Different organs and different articulations. Okay, you'll find. Oh, here's a couple of sounds. Okay. So these are like the drawbars of a particular type of organ. And you can actually connect them up through your elements as you combine the elements and so on. Okay, so that's all I wanted to do here because we went into this great more at a more lengthy. What I'm trying to say is we did this already on the other video, and we did it for a lot longer. So I'm going to move on to some other things about this area. Okay. Now, let's look at the buttons underneath the screen. So underneath the screen, you have right underneath the screen is SF1 through SF6. And then below that row is the regular F1 through F6. Where we are currently is on SF1 and F1. This is the, in case you're in another area later on in videos that I show you, will be in other areas. So this is important to know. To get to this area where we're changing the wave sounds, I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna go over here because we're gonna demonstrate some other things here. I'll go over here to the synth area. Okay, we're there. All right. So to get into this area that I'm working in now, is as SF1 and F1. So my finger's on F1, and you press SF1, and it takes you to this screen. Now, there's two other screens under this F1 screen. F1 is the main menu, okay? So these SF1s through SF3 for this particular screen are submenus, okay? So SF2. On SF2, and then we'll go over here to our, we can change our delay to how long.
It's 2:00 p.m.
Ah, there's proof I'm blind. My clock. I usually turn it off, but I didn't this time. I was just excited. I wanted to hurry up and get in here and do this video. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a sine wave real quick. I'm sorry, not a sine. Let's grab a sawtooth. And I'm going to make two of them. So the way I'm doing this is I'm going to the middle set of 8 on the right side of the screen. I'm picking number 2. I'm going to take my cursor up to the top left of the screen using click method. And I'm going to turn that, I'm going to activate that element. So now what you hear is piano and sawtooth, but we want 2 sawtooth waves for this demonstration. So let's get 2. Bear with me, I'm going to make some changes here. Let's see, let's turn that element off. Okay, now let's grab a sawtooth. Here's our sawtooth. Now we have 2. So when you have 2 sawtooths on the same sound, these are 2 elements. That's what that sounds like. It basically what it did is it boosted it. It raised the volume. I have no velocity set up here, so it's just straight sound. Okay. Back to SF2. Top left. Take the cursor up to the top left. Make sure you're there. What this does. This is the reason why I put up 2 of the same wave. So what this does is it allows you to set up a delay between the two elements. To demonstrate this further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pitch of one element and make it a third apart, okay? And then you can really hear the difference, okay? You probably kind of did already, but this is just to show you what I really mean here. Okay, that was not the right thing. Let's go a third up, third up. Okay, we want to take this back down to 0. I want to take that up to, so full step and a half. There we go. So as you see, or here, they're a third apart, and it's the same wave. Just the pitch is set a third apart. We'll talk about pitch in a bit here. All right, so that's what that does on that at top F, and you can set this from 0 to, I think they said 127. So here's 0. 127, geez, that's a long ways away. So what I'm doing is holding down the shift and spinning the data wheel clockwise. Look how long it's taking for that other sound. My Lord, I don't even want to find out. Okay, so we'll go back to, we'll take this back to 0. Okay, back to 0 we go. Now, all right, let's talk about what's underneath that setting there. All right, so underneath the next setting you can come to, if the book is saying things in proper order, the next thing below that is your tempo sync. Very nice, because what this is going to do is now, if you create a sound using this area and you use the tempo sync and you have the delay set like that as an example, then it automatically did that. I didn't actually change anything. All I did is turn on the tempo sync, and it automatically moved it to the first whatever default setting is there. So now when I press a C, the E comes in later. Okay, and it doesn't have to be set like this. It could be the same note, a different wave. It could be whatever. It's your creation, right? I'm just doing this for demonstration. All right, so that's going to happen if you're in a sequence, you're recording your pattern, and you play this sound. That sound is going to actually is going to play in time to whatever you set your because in this area you can, after you turn on the tempo sync, you have a new area that pops up, and it's I think it's right below the switch for the tempo sync on off switch, and here's where you could set the quantize, how you want it, 16th notes. I think it goes up to, I think there's quite a bit of choices here. As you can hear, it's getting longer. But if I turn the dial back counterclockwise to the last setting, that's how fast it is. So that's what that does. All right. For this next section, let's see. Let's turn off that. Let's put this back on 0. Because to the right of the switch that controls how much of a delay, that's the very top left. Just to the right of that, if you take the cursor to the right, you're on the spot where you can actually connect up your effects, and you won't hear anything. If you can see it in the screen. I have no idea what it's showing in the screen. I do know that it works because I've used it, okay? So there's a lot of times you're going to run into things on this keyboard as a blind user where it doesn't sound like it's doing anything, but chances are it is, but either there's a setting above it or possibly below it that needs to be turned on to trigger it in some cases. However, in this case, it's not going to work because, well, let me show you. It's not going to work because there we go. Straight sound. All right. It's not going to work because there is no instrument effect selected. So I'm going to turn one on and show you. Okay, let's just go right here. Let's go right here. Which one do I want to turn on? Actually, no, this is an EQ, so we've got to get out of there. Let's go here. Here we go. Instrument effect. I'll do something like, okay, sort of a phaser, right? All right, here we go. All right, so back over here, and let's see. Okay. This is like a phaser or something like that. So if I turn that off, okay, so this is, we're back to the same area, okay, that we were on last. Turning it off, by default, I think it's off. I'm not sure about that. If you guys who are sighted find out otherwise, leave it in the comment section and let me know. Also, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that like button, and yeah, it lets me know that I'm doing a good job, and lets YouTube know that I'm adding value to your playing experience. Okay, so all right, back to the video. Here we go. So this first set, or the first setting that you can use, is of course off. Then there's the instrument, insert instrument B or A. Then there's B, and I think that's all you can pick. Yes, A and B. And now B is, even though this sounds the same, I'm still learning about the effects area. But I think that under the spot where I was changing my instrument A is the same spot where I can change my instrument B's as well. But we'll have a video on effects as well, okay? So anyways, so that's what that's for. Okay, so you pick your instrument, how your instrument's connected to the wave. Now, what I should probably also mention to you is that this can be done for each element. So you can have one element without the instrument effect, another element with instrument effect A, another element with instrument effect B, and so on, okay? And so on this particular submenu, I think that's it. That's all you can pick here. It's just those three things. The tempo sync, well, actually technically four. So you got the delay on the left. Underneath that is tempo sync on off. And underneath that, if you turn on the tempo sync, would be the spot where you pick your quantization for your element. Okay, so this is only going to affect the element that you have currently selected. It will not affect the others. Okay, to the right, top right, is your instrument effect on-off switch. So you have off or through, then you have A, instrument effect A, then you have instrument effect B. Okay, that's it for that screen. F3, interesting screen. Now F3, I'm going to mute element 2. We're going to go to element 1. F3, not F3, I'm sorry, SF3. So we're going to SF3, so subcategory or submenu 3. We're still under F1, and we're in SF3, okay? The first thing on the left, top left, is where you can pick. This is kind of an interesting thing because you know how on the keyboard, if you've already watched other videos and you already know how to split your keyboard, right? Well, check this out. You can split your keyboard right here while you're creating a brand new sound. So element 1 could be zoned from, let's say, from the bottom C to about well, let's go from C to C, or from the A of the keyboard if you have the 88 version. If you're using an MOXf6, it's probably not A. I don't have one, so I don't remember what the low key is for 61 note keys. But anyways, so you take your lowest key on your keyboard and you go up to the second C. You can actually set your keyboard to split right there. And then the next element can go from that area to the next area, and so on and so on, all the way up to the end of the keyboard, right? Okay. And the way you do that, if you want to get into playing around with this area, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can use the data wheel. So this is going to be all for the top left for the blind user. Explain this for blind people. Okay, sighted guys. Sighted people. All right, so let me just make sure that this is actually working. It is. Okay, so this area on the top left is for the low end of the keyboard. So you can use the data wheel. I'm using shift with my thumb and spinning the data wheel with the finger holder. Okay, so you can spin the wheel clockwise to change it, or counterclockwise. I'm doing it now. You don't have to use the shift. You can use it without the shift. You can also use the plus and the minus buttons. You can also so when you go to the right now, this is going to be for the high end of the board. Okay. And now, just so you know, to make it even faster, you can press down SF6 when you're in the low end of the screen. So you go to the top left with the cursor, top, then left, all the way to left. Hold down the SF6 button, press any key that you want. I'm going to press C. Middle C. Is that middle C? No, that's the 3rd C from the bottom. So now everything underneath that C is silent. There's nothing playing. Okay. Let's go lower C. So I'm going to do it again, F6, and then press lower C. So now everything up to that point is playing. Underneath that is silent. All right, let's put it back to. I'm going to put it back to the last A on the bottom of the keyboard. Now, from there all the way up, okay, it plays. So take the cursor right 1, and let's repeat the same process. This time on the other end of the keyboard. I'm going to hold down the F6. I'm going to press, let's see, C2, 3, 4, 5. Let's press C6. That's just what I'm choosing. You can pick whatever. So everything above C6 is no longer playing. It's silent. Okay? So that's what you do. That's how you set up your highs and your lows. I'm going to switch this back to normal. All right. Next in this screen is a velocity setting. Let me go up here. Let's see, we're at the left side. We covered that. We want this right here, I believe. So this is, in this screen, you're going to take your cursor. When you get up to the top left, from the, if you're going to go to the very next spot that we were just on. Just go to the right one. But it's so just keep in mind it's going to be 2 clicks if you're on the first thing on the top left. It's going to be two clicks to the right, and you'll be at the spot where you can change the velocity. One of the velocity settings. This one, I'm still trying to grasp. So what it looks like is happening. As I turned the knob, I turned it up to a pretty high value, and when I press the key gently, there is no sound going all the way up the keyboard. And I'm using pretty much the same pressure all the way up. Okay, so if you press harder, you get sound. Okay? So that's what that does. I'm going to take it back down to the lowest number. I'm doing that by shift and the dial, data dial. And you can make these adjustments on this with the increment and decrement buttons as well, which are both, as I showed you in the beginning of the video. One is just below to the right of the data wheel, and one is just below to the left of the data wheel. Okay, so you can make changes there. All right, next thing is another velocity setting. I just went to the right with my cursor, and this one, I think you can combine it with that one previously on the left. Okay. It's supposed to be a crossfade. What I found easiest as a blind user, and if you guys can know this section that I'm at, you can mention what it's called in the comment section so I'll know. But what I do when I'm going to deal with velocity at all is, hang on 1 second, let me make some changes here. Hold on. Let me see what I did here, because I have no sound now. Hold on. And I think I know what I did. So I'm just going to make some changes here. It's always fun to problem solve on this board. It's not always easy, trust me. Okay. So when I get into a pinch like this and it's just not acting the way I wanted. Oh, wait. I think I know what's going on. Hang on. I think it's my, what did you believe it's this? Let's see. Here it is. So this is an area where, as a blind user, you can really get caught up. So let me show you what I did to get out of my jam. Somehow I had changed my, this is why, somehow I changed my upper setting. And so all the notes that I was hitting were turned off because of the way I had my keyboard split. So, I mean, because like I said, this is it. I think I just did it again. That's crazy. Okay, so. All right, I'm gonna get off that screen for a minute while I'm talking to you guys. So what I did is I had to fix the upper and the lower settings to make sure, you know, so when it goes quiet like that on that particular screen, that's what you do as a blind user. Now, what I want to show you though is the way I get to the velocity, the important part that I think is more important as far as velocity is concerned when it comes to creating like pianos or things that you want to have velocity. What I do is I hit the SF3 button and then I go up and to the left, but then I go to the right 1, 2, 3 clicks. I go down 1 click, and I go left one click. I make an adjustment here. Then I go to the, I click once to the right and make my adjustments there. Usually I'll go to all the way to the top. Let's see, what did I do wrong here? Let me see if I'm doing the same thing. Okay, no, let's do that right. Okay, so you go up. When you first get into the screen, go up to the left to get your bearings. So up all the way, then left, go to the right, 1, 2, 3, yeah, is it 3 clicks? 3 clicks, wait, let me double check. 1, 2, 3 clicks, down 1 click, make your adjustment here using the data wheel. I'm using shift and data, that's just faster for me. Then go to the right, I'm sorry, to the left with your cursor, 1 click, and make your changes here. And I'm hitting the key over and over again to listen for the change. And I'm gonna turn this wheel. There you go, see it's silencing. And then as I hit the key harder, okay? So that's velocity. That's how I deal with velocity as a blind user on this keyboard when I'm creating new sounds. Okay? All right. So, in the last video we talked about the knobs on the left. Please look at my last video for those. We will not be covering that here. I'm going to wrap up actually because there are other things that actually before I wrap up I want to get into one more thing with pitch. I'm going to show you the pitch screen a little bit, the basic area of it. But the knobs will make some changes. I found that in most cases, those changes that you make with the knobs in this mode when you're creating new sounds, sometimes you'll find they don't stick, okay? So it's going to be really important that you learn how to actually manipulate the video, the envelopes for your envelope generator, your pitch envelope generator, your filter envelope generator, and your amplitudes, because learning that will stick. When you store a sound, it will stick. Okay, you can store these sounds also if you want. I'm not storing anything. I'm just basically showing you the basics. But these can also be stored using the same method I showed you in storing your sounds for your gigs. Okay. All right. So here we are in the. Let's talk about the pitch screen real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn back on these two elements. Okay, so we have 2 elements going. So on the pitch screen, what happens is what you're going to do is when you get into the pitch mode, which is F2, SF1 will take you to pitch. On the top of the screen, now you're going to pick whichever element you want. I'm going to go with element 2. Because I have 2 elements going. Because I want to show you what's going to happen here. So at the top of the screen, if you are up and left and you press the plus button, this is where you could change by semitones what note, okay, or where you want the pitch to start. Now, if you have watched the other video, the previous video on the secret to the heart of the MOXF8 keyboard, you would have found waves that were strange in sounding. I'm trying to keep this simple for beginners. So what those waves were, as an example, okay, we are now, I came down on this pitch. I came down 1 with my cursor from the top left, and this is the this is the chorus tuning of the sound. I want you to listen to what happens when I start. This is why I have two elements running. Right now, this is the regular. Now I'm gonna start changing the element, the tuning. Hear that? Here's the normal. And so it's just detuning one of the elements. This is useful, right? And you can, this is going up. So I'm using the decrement button or the plus button. But I can actually go the other way. See? Okay, so that's what that does. Let's get it back to 0. I'm strictly, since I can't see the screen, I mean, sighted people obviously could just zoom, turn it to 0. Unfortunately, there's no way. I mean, there actually is a way, but I haven't figured that out. I was told there's a way to get to the numbers via these SF 1 through 6. I was told that there's certain circumstances you can actually press F6 and it'll pull up a screen where you can use F5 as 0 and 4 as 1, not F5, SF5 as 0, SF4 as 1, 3 as, 2, and 2 as 3, and 1 as 4. So I don't know. I haven't really played with that. I don't do that. I just use the data wheel. Data wheel or the plus wheel. Plus button. Plus wheel. Okay, so we're back at 0. So that's what that area of the screen does. If we go down one more, I don't really like this spot because this one I think is hard to set back to 0. I think this has 2 sides to it as well. This is a random setting or offset, so like you could just change that and it will. I'm not going to do it, but basically what it does is every time you hit the key, it'll be a different note. Okay, so it's random. Okay, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed your lesson with me on getting deeper into sound design. I will get into some more basic stuff on another video. I think this video is pretty long. And so, if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and it will keep you posted on what new videos come out as I upload them. So, yeah, and hit that like button. Let me know that you like my videos. If you have any suggestions in the comment area is the best place to place them. Also, leave your comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible on as I see them. Okay? All right. Have a good one. Take care, YouTube.
Stop recording video button.